Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this is November 13th, select board meeting, special meeting because of the holiday. It's 6:03 and we're getting started. I'll call the meeting to order. All members other than Rose are here. Rose is on her way to, should be here at 6:10, but we'll get started in the meantime. Any changes to the agenda that we can, you'd like to make note of? All right. Public comment. Anyone out there need a comment? I would just like to
Hey,
make.
Carl, it's Christy Farnham. I'd like to just ask, I'm not sure from reviewing the agenda, if tonight we'll have any updates on the status of Brook Road. But having just navigated a medical emergency over the past weekend, it's top of mind for me. So I'm hoping that that's part of tonight's discussion.
That is not, Christy. We are, however, going to be getting visitors from FEMA and some engineers from our consultants here next week to start to review the process on the road. I don't know how long that's going to take, but we are definitely making steps there.
So you are gonna fix it?
I'm sorry,
You are gonna fix the Brook Road?
we don't have that answer yet.
All right. So
We don't know.
Feasibility
More,
stuff.
okay, all right, that sounds better.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was gonna talk about is that we don't have enough information to decide to fix it or not. It could be $1 million, it could be $20 million. We need to know, and we need to know what it will take to fix it properly with engineering studies. So that's what's starting next week.
Okay.
And FEMA is gonna be here next week as well, on several occasions. The other thing I would like to just mention is the bond bank is, we are discussing with the bond bank a need for some cash flow, but there's no decisions made there. Unlike some folks in town who think there are. The select board has not made any decisions on that, nor have we seen information on that. So I just want that to be noted. Any other public comments on that?
Since we're not discussing the Brook Road here in public comment, Christy, do you want to make a public comment based on your experience?
I put a post up on Front Porch Forum, just sort of reminding folks, I understand that lots of folks in town have suffered impacts from the flood. I just don't want to be forgotten up here in the hills, right? Like in this situation, responders came swiftly and the situation wasn't as emergent as I thought when I phoned. But if it was a heart attack or it was a stroke, or if there was uncontrolled bleeding, would I be sharing with you the news of passing of my mom, right? It's serious, and we're closer than many other folks, given our proximity to the village and the loss of Brook Road. Likewise, we're traversing East Hill, and with a new driver in the house, and when I came upon the scene of a rolled over dump truck, it's dangerous. So if we're going to continue to keep Brook Road closed and we're going to use East Hill as the alternate route, will that route require the same level of investment that the Brook Road will? That's a question I know we don't know the answer to, but it certainly is creating a lot of hardship and angst for those of us that are cut off from the village. So just keep us top of mind, please.
Thank you, Christy. We have not forgotten it, and it's just a long, slow process, unfortunately, but there are steps being taken. You have anything you want to add?
So
This Josh.
Josh,
Using microphone.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah, say who you are.
this is Josh Pitts, the road commissioner. Right now, we're working out the, each portion of the Brook Road is divided into sections, and there are some sections that are incomplete. And the in areas that it was not feasible to get the road to be made whole again, prior to the winter, we're exploring, some alternatives for temporary bridges, but that's not really applicable to your situation, given the washout. But each of those portions that V-Trans divides the Brook Road into will have, we're reviewing municipal project management to, that is the first step in organizing so that we can get those funds in place to begin to study each section. So there isn't one Brook Road per se. We have the 11 or 12 different projects that are applicable. And the one that is giving you trouble is actually quite large. And it is gonna be one of our top priorities to get that rolling. The nature of the problem is big, and so it's gonna take time. I know we've Michael, the road foreman, and I discussed like possible emergency workarounds, but if you wanna give me a call or email me, treasurer@plainfieldbt.gov, then I'll get a hold of you and I can discuss further.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bram, would you like to move on to the town clerk's report?
Yes, I'm sort of the town clerk. First off, I just want to apologize for not posting the taxes due today. It's usually posted on social media and in front of the town hall opera house. We had a major crisis yesterday where our Nemrick software was down for most of the day. This is at a key tax time and just things got away from me dealing with that. We're assured by them that there are fixes in place. This has been going on for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We've had outages, which prevents us from really doing work, entering tax payments, paying bills and so forth. So we've been a bit under the gun. I don't have anything else specific to add. I would, this might be getting into the treasurer's report. And I guess I'll just wait until the treasurer's report, if there's anything that I can add.
Okay. Thank you.
Video is good.
That's town treasurer. So my first tax day, very lightning, worked on improving some processes, but nevertheless, we've plenty of people came in, paid their taxes. Appreciate everyone for doing so. And the items on here, I'll speak to the bond bank. I did reach out to Ken Lingfeld.
Ken Lynch, how do you say his last name? It's L-I-N-G, Lynn, I don't know exactly.
Lin, or whatever. And he said that we did receive the grant, and we're waiting on details and further all the paperwork and everything, but so I don't have any details on that, but I do, but it's good news without details. And then we do need approval to retain Elijah Emerson of River Piper Eggleston Kramer PC to represent us as counsel for our bond counsel from the select board.
He might be on the call.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know
He's on the call, I believe.
if he wants.
Can you describe his role to people that may not know?
Yeah, I think
I can,
Okay,
Or he could describe it himself.
yeah.
yeah,
yeah, just so everybody understands, this type of work requires, very specific type counsel. The bond bank itself lists a group of lawyers who, have worked with them before successfully. Why did we turn to, Eli is basically, he has worked with the water department before, he's based in Montpelier, he's nearby, he knows the town, and he can speak for himself, but I understand why it worked out.
okay. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that, but
Do you want Eli to speak?
Eli, would you like to say a word just to introduce yourself and?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think the points are exactly right. It's very specialized counsel that works with municipalities when they do their borrowing, whether it's short-term borrowing or longer-term borrowing with the bond bank. Having a good working relationship with the bond bank's really important. Oftentimes, we're using forms, templates that have been used in the past. So to be familiar with those and have those ready are really important. And so I may be new to the town of Plainfield, but our firm is not. I worked with Paul Giuliani for many years, and I know he had done a couple of the town's long-term financings. And at least in the 5 to 10 year range ago. Yeah, the town is already a client of our firm. And we definitely have a lot of the old documentation that was used for the previous borrowings. Happy to
Okay.
answer any other questions about, specifically about any borrowing that you're looking at.
Thanks.
Peter Youngbear. I'm relatively new to the select board and I'm trying to understand what the process is here. And my understanding is that the bonds are available to towns twice a year. And so we're looking at a deadline in December at this point for applying. I think it was December 16th or something like that. And then we have to have a vote to approve this. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So let's talk about, this is sort of a long-term financing. I'm presuming the bond bank also, I know you guys have been particularly hard hit by flooding. The bond bank has a couple of programs that it's offering specifically aimed towards flooding. But this sounds like this is more of a traditional long-term bonding situation. So there's two steps really. There's the authorization to borrow the money, which when it's a situation where it's a general obligation bond, so it's secured by full faith and credit of the town and its taxpayers, that requires a bond vote. So really the step is to go get the bond vote. And with that, you have authorization to borrow money on a long-term basis. And then you work with the bank for a closing. They're what's typically called their pooled financing, means when your borrowing is pooled with other municipalities in Vermont for the sake of cost savings. They do that twice a year. They do a sort of a pool, a winter pool. So usually applications due in December and then the closing is in March. And then they do a summer pool. Applications usually due in May with a closing in August. So those are which I think you're referring to, the 2 times a year where they do a pooled financing. So they'll lump you in with all the other municipalities borrowing at that time, and that helps secure a lower interest rate since you're doing it as a group rather than individually.
Answer that. Do you have any questions, Dan? Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I guess, do we have to make a motion to retain? Is that what we need?
Yes, that would be,
Great.
retain Elijah Emerson as, our bond counsel for the the town to receive the loan for, from the bond bank.
So I make a motion that we retain Elijah Emerson as Primer Piper and Eggleston, Primer Piper, Eggleston and Kramer, PC as our bond counsel for this upcoming bond.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? We'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Welcome aboard, Eli.
Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you guys. I presume you don't need me anymore, or should I stick around?
I think you're set. We'll be putting you
All
to
right.
work soon enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I'll wait to hear from you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
And I'll reach out to him when I get the full details from Ken at the bond bank.
Yeah.
The other, bullet point here was discuss scheduling budget meetings. I'm available, for that, whenever it is convenient to, you all, what's a good time frame that you'd like to work within, and, who is gonna be the point person from the select board to work on budgeting?
Would like to get to that. Did you say that? I didn't quite hear you. Did you say that?
I'm open to beginning as soon as possible.
Okay,
I've done some review of like the chart of accounts, what's been expended year to date as of November 5th. And the chart of accounts does require a bit of massaging to put it lightly, and that there's a lot of artifacts of previous line items that I think could be adjusted to make a much better organization of those particular accounts, such that it'll be easier for us to understand like our financial position for each sort of area of the expenses.
Mhm.
So I do want to kind of, as they say in baseball, I think it's a building year. And generally I'm available most on Mondays and Fridays. And anytime that everyone is ready to go, I can, if you want to follow up with me, Carl, on email, and let me know who you want to be involved with, and then I will schedule some meetings for that.
can I just make a, oh, I'm
I just have a
sorry.
question, and maybe Bram knows, maybe you know, what's the typical, like, how many select board members typically take part in this? Is it the whole select board? Is it a subsection of the select board?
That's a good question.
Traditionally, it has been, all the members because it was a three-person board. So I think we're in new territory now. If it's possible to, there are gonna be a lot of different discussions about different things. So if you want to have a sort of a subcommittee, to sort of be able to, take in the more, detailed stuff, that might be good. And then have a sort of a broader meeting to sort of summarize.
So we'll have to think about whether that makes sense for us to have a committee from the board that would do this, or have the whole board. What's your thought?
well, I don't know. I mean, you've been through this before, none of the rest of us have.
I was, yeah, but I was on a 3-member board. We all sat down and worked on it.
Yeah, my sort of expectation, just looking back at some of the minutes, was the different groups, the recreation and arts. or the
Right.
Five, they came and presented and,
Right.
we asked questions and whatnot. I'm inclined to do it as a
That way.
committee of the whole,
Okay.
personally.
I think for this time, especially if there's gonna be changes to the structure of the budget, I think it's important all of us are on at the same time.
Okay.
And can I just say that I appreciate the fact that we're trying to streamline and make this more appropriate for where we are right now. I also want to say that all of us have been through a lot of stress. And to have changes when people are looking through their book in March and looking at last year and this year in different categories, and we want to be really careful on how much we change it, I think.
And I think it would be fairly easy to follow. There are a couple of things that got added as, there are portions of the budget that you would expect would fall into social concerns, but are listed in different sections, and then there are there are ways that we could better structure it so that the citizens really would better understand the location that their money is going to and how we plan to how we would expect to change year over year in terms of maintaining a good, sound financial position for the town. And I think that I'm not talking about major changes, I'm just saying that there are
Okay.
things that a little bit of budget reorganizing would be suitable for just to update the town. There are lines that are distinct for, things like computers and IT, that you got a computer over here, and a computer over here in this line item, and there's no general, this is just an example, there's no general IT budget, in 2024, 2025, 2026 in the
Well-
future. It makes sense to kind of group these types of expenditures, so that this reorganization should provide, if done correctly, more clarity to the citizens and to the select board of how we're spending the town's resources.
Well, thank you. And I guess I would just like to say that also that make sure it's clear and as clear as it can be, because there's going to be a lot of questions at town meeting and there'll be questions for us, I'm sure. So we all want to be really clear on it.
And
Any
so
other,
the whole process, we need to have a finalized budget for review by the auditor when? Graham?
Ideally, I think if we could have the budget ready in January, mid-January, I think that would be, give us enough time to, I think the usual deadline, if I'm not mistaken, is around January 15th, around mid-January.
because it has to go to printing and it has to be,
Well, it has to, we have to have time to send it out to the printer,
Yep.
to warn everybody. And I think if we can shoot for, January, I think it'll give us enough time. Just to emphasize what Josh is saying, the whole point of this is so people have a very clear understanding of what's going on. That's the whole point.
great.
And,
Yeah.
right now there are legacy accounts that don't really capture what's going on. And I think that would be very helpful to townsfolk to understand what's going on.
We'll just have to explain it, that's all.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll check, Dan, I'll check with other towns to get when their deadlines are. I just assumed it was mid-January, but.
Well, because right, because the printed copies of the town report have to be to people a number of weeks
Correct.
before the actual date. So yeah, I just want to make sure we've obviously had to move, down the road and had problems, so just want to know firm deadline.
I think that's a great point, and I'll get on it and ask other town first.
Thanks. Yes,
So when you did it before.
Peter, yeah.
About how many meetings, how long were these meetings? I mean, did you have, 3 or 4 groups come in a 2-hour period and, and then come back another day? How did that work?
Honestly, I can't remember exactly. I think it's that range. It didn't seem overly oppressive in the holiday season to be doing this. Yes, Graham?
I think that the highway department would have a meeting, maybe that lasts an hour and change. We go down line by line and talk about what was spent, what's upcoming. What makes this series of budget meetings maybe a little bit different would be discussion of medical, Blue Cross Blue Shield and all that. I think that might take some time, and, that might be a longer meeting, but I figure, an hour, hour and 15 minutes for most of them, the healthcare one might be a couple of hours.
Can we get categories from you that we can then, as a board, decide?
Yes.
Uh,
I mean, essentially, I would just bird's eye view from 50,000 feet, you have, town admin, fire department, highway department. And then, various, groups, social concerns. and so
Okay.
forth. I mean, that's sort of the basic picture. I don't think I
Okay.
don't think I'm missing anything.
Yeah, I seem to recall this 3 or 4 times.
I mean, if we had, if we did it as a committee of the whole, and we advertised. It wouldn't matter like if one or even two
Well,
people didn't make a particular meeting, because you
yeah,
would still have a quorum, so.
well, given
It's
the
flexible.
time of year it is, it's probably hard to get everybody together all the time.
And are you, in this process, we're not like in those sub meetings, we're not like voting in these pieces, we're just kind of architecting the budget, and then there's probably at some point where we actually vote the budget to be put into the town thing, right?
I believe that is correct. We're making a decision as a board as to what we think we should present to the voters.
Yeah.
And the voters will decide ultimately if they accept that or not. But I remember that we would like, we would have reasons for making changes and discussing it with the public so that people understood why we made the decision. we did.
Elizabeth Nurse wants to know if any other symptoms
Oh,
and how am I feeling today?
Josh?
I also am the water and wastewater commissioner and have been through several budgets. I would say that the size of the town budget and the things that we are kind of up against in terms of like the increased costs associated with all of the things that have happened the last few years. I would expect probably 4 budget meetings.
Mhm.
Like, I would say the first one, we should really look at the structure of the budget. And then, to sort of reorganize some of the way that things are bucketed. And then, take a look at the and then have a meeting that is largely around administrative expenses. This would be stipends, this would be, the cost of running the office, HR, et cetera. And then have a lengthy meeting about the highway department, which that's gonna be a long one. And then have a, and then probably you would need 2 more meetings, but you might be able to get everything into one. I know there's a lot of new expenses associated with fire department. Not significant, but new nonetheless. And so I would expect definitely 3 meetings and probably 4.
Okay, that's good to know.
And for clarification, each one of these meetings has to be warned and public. It's like a working meeting that
It
is,
would be,
that is public.
Special,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
because it's the full board.
Yeah, it feels like if you could lay that out in a document along with how long between those meetings you think you'd want, like if we're gonna have a meeting about the restructuring, how much time do you want before we have the admin meeting, et cetera. If you lay that out, then we can maybe just get a schedule together.
That would
And
be-
then it's much easier to warn things if it's scheduled out.
I would also, speaking from my previous experience on the water commission, frequent budget meetings that are shorter are preferable to long budget meetings and fewer,
Mhm. Okay,
because your eyes really start to glaze over after that.
Mhm.
And, speaking to like being able to explain, to the voters, the citizens of the town, what we're presenting, I have no problem engaging in detailed explanations, as Ryan Christensen behind me can attest to. I'm very happy to do that.
mhm. Yes, Peter?
I would like to and I don't want to get into it tonight, but I've been doing some sort of preliminary work in anticipation. Today I had a long conversation with Sandy Ross about the
Hmm.
grand list, for example, and I would like to, maybe at our first budget meeting, sort of fly it 35,000 feet for a minute, you know, and say, and one of the reasons I've asked for budget versus actual year to date, because last year at town meeting, Bram said, you know, the budget was really sort of cobbled together, so we don't know how accurate that is until we look at budget versus actual, but
Mhm.
let's say we hit it spot on, okay? If we hit it spot on, we say, okay, great. Then if we're gonna level fund that budget, and I'm not advocating that, I'm just using an example here. Then the tax rate next year would be different because the grand list shrunk because of what's come off because of the flood.
Mhm.
But Goddard College is coming on, so you have some moving parts that kind of are gonna arch over this whole thing.
So does that come into the overall view, the top view of the first meeting, maybe?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
I
what you're
think,
thinking?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
and I can elaborate a little bit more, but like when I read, you know, other towns take
Mhm.
different approaches, like, okay, we're gonna target, you know, only a 3.5% increase without having heard from anybody in town. They don't know what that means, but, you know, so there's different ways to approach it. And I think that just, you know, getting people to come in and tell us what they need is only a part of it. I think
Yeah.
we need a context, and I think it would be helpful to maybe have a little bit of discussion at the beginning of that process.
And maybe that's part of that structural discussion that you want to have.
Indeed.
Yeah, okay, and we want to make sure you have time to get ready for each one of these budget meetings, so that's kind of up to you, I guess. Well, I don't, you know, you're new at it, I don't want to press, but we want to get after it.
We can,
Come on.
I'm ready right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
Adam.
The request to.
yeah, this is Adam Hochschild.
Thank you. Adam O'Shea.
We need.
I would request a favor if you're able to do this. There's a budget, there's a agenda item, a couple items down related to Bean Road.
Yes,
There's a meeting at 7 o'clock at the clerk's office on a related issue. If possible, could we move that up? I hate to move people out of turn, but if that is possible. I could just-
you're the only one in between, are you okay? You're okay with that?
Yeah.
So let's have the discussion about the Bean Road.
We should have asked to change the agenda so it was first.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna talk about budget, that's all right. Also say your name for the.
yeah, could you, who would like to speak about
I will.
this,
Kim
okay,
Nolan.
would you have the mic, please?
Kim Nolan, resident of the Bean Road. Okay, tonight we need to discuss, as you know, I've sent everybody copies of what Michael Thunberg, or whatever his name, our lawyer, from the last status meeting with Devin Lynch, that the court has given Devin Lynch 2 weeks to pay the fines that the town needs to come up with a dollar amount by November 18th. Devin, I think, is scrambling. He said, now I'll pay the fines, he's saying. And the lawyer said, you weren't cooperating with us before when we wanted to discuss it. Well, now he's scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the board to set a dollar amount from when that trailer went on there, August 2020. She, of course, should have been out by February of 21, but she was not. That was her 6-month period of being on there.
Right,
And so he has to pay for hers and his time, and now he's going into a second winter of being there. So you're looking at 4 years. Roughly. Yeah.
so the statute that we have allows them to be there for 6 months. But the rest of the time of those
They've
4
got to
years,
vacate and the trailer is supposed to be off the lot.
so
And it never
essentially,
has been.
it's 2 full years of,
More than that,
yeah, okay,
You said February of 21.
21.
yeah.
And I don't know when Melanie died, but he's been there since 2023, correct?
February 2nd
23,
is the date that the fines begin.
right.
And I remember seeing a $200 a day.
Whoa.
penalty, is that correct?
Sounds good to me.
I mean, I don't know, that's
It's
what was,
$100 outside of day one, where it's, I believe it's, and please check this, I think it's certain dollar figure per violation, and they stack. And then on day two, it's $100 per violation.
okay,
And it
Okay.
accumulates.
And I think there's at least 2 violations. I think there's actually 4 violations.
Graham, do you have any insight into what this might be?
I don't know that the board is really up on all the DRB rules. Perhaps a motion could be made to get a number from the people in the know on the DRB, and basically have the board accept whatever number they come up with. Is that acceptable?
I don't think they're coming up with a number.
They're
Right
not-
now, tonight, the ruling is on his variance, whether he can build closer to the road. Tonight is the final decision. So they're having nothing to do with fees.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think it's a little much to have the board, to expect the board to understand the rules. I'm not.
I know,
I'm just
but this
saying,
is what the court has told the lawyer. 2 weeks.
Brian Christensen, just my recollection of the fees is actually an email I just read that was sent to the select board and the DRB back in that time period. So there's been plenty of time to figure out how the fee structure works. Now we have 2 weeks. and I
Well, not
believe
2
that
weeks,
time
5 days.
begins
You've got 5
a week and a
days.
half ago. So it is really important that the town of Plainfield make it crystal clear what are the fees due to the town of Plainfield, so that Mr. Lynch can decide whether or not he wants to pay it. But if we don't send that bill, you won't get paid.
And I sent you a copy of the lawyer's
Yeah, I got that.
findings.
Yeah.
perhaps.
Is that Michael Parent?
Huh?
Is that Michael?
Yeah.
Yes,
You know, perhaps it makes sense to have, Ryan, I'm not trying, and Kim. I want to be as aggressive and Adam, because I want to be as aggressive as possible on this. I'm not trying to make excuses. I just think that even though you did send the email, I think they're feeling a little bit blindsided in terms of coming up with a specific number. Perhaps, I don't know who would have that number. I don't know, is there any, would the lawyer know what the number is, or I mean, who's the person in the town who would know? The DRB or?
Probably the zoning administrator.
This is the question I've been asking for 4 years, which is
Right.
why I took my best stab at that and said, can somebody confirm or deny this map? And so, sorry if I sound frustrated, I am, it's been 4 years of me trying to answer this question. Everything trying to answer this question, with the exception of all of the various members of authority in the town of Plainfield, so. We don't really care whether it's the zoning administrator, the town attorney, the select board, or the DRB. But somebody has to do it. So I would recommend we do it right now.
Mhm. So we have to calculate how many days we have.
It's approximately, and we could do the actual math, but it's approximately 970 days.
970.
But how
Okay.
many years are you doing? I
Um,
figure at least 3 years. So
yeah.
that's 1,095
Well-
days.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did two, I just add 365 to that, sorry.
Right, 365 times 3 years at least.
Well, yeah, that would.
It's 1,095 days at $200 a day.
100
Talk-
a day.
100, is it 100?
I heard
$100
100.
a day per violation.
So
Right, it's got 4
100
violations, right, so you're talking, oh God, 400 and. Oh, am I gonna calculate this?
It's $110,000.
400.
Yeah.
What is it?
Right. Yeah, that's what I get too.
Yeah, and then by violation, so.
Well, that's for all 4.
Where's the mail?
What did you say it was?
For,
It's 110,000.
That was
438.
All right, so roughly say
Kristen.
$450,000 for 4 years, for 4 violations.
Oh, yeah, that's, it would have come from this.
Because
It's
he wasn't.
$110,000 per
What's
violation.
that?
He wasn't.
Yeah, I got 9,500.
But
No.
he was suggesting that number would never.
Right.
Yeah.
110.
I think the lawyer's point was that we should send a bill. And then when he can't pay it, he has to then answer to the court. That's my understanding. And that the courts often will let them slide on some of it, but we're talking over $110,000
Exactly, per violation.
Per violation.
That's just one violation.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, it'd be 440,000 if there's 4 violations,
uh-huh,
right? But the whole
Okay.
thing is, we need to put the letter together,
mhm,
get a copy to the lawyer ASAP. And we mail a copy to Devin, so that I'm sure there's gonna be another status meeting the 18th, which is Monday,
mhm.
to see if he's been told what the fees are. And the lawyer will have it, so he can present it to the court.
How could we, if we come, if we come up with a number tonight, can we get a letter put together by the, would that be the clerk, or would that be the select board, or what would that be? I guess it would, I mean,
I'm perfectly happy writing a letter. I just, I don't know if, as this is a legal document, if it should come from the lawyer, but.
Well, then give the lawyer the numbers.
Just, yeah, I mean.
we can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we could, I mean, what might be the easiest, because we're doing this on the fly, is we could approve a dollar amount per day. Starting February 2nd, right?
Yeah, 2021.
And then someone else not in the open meeting, not right now, can actually count the number of days accurately and then days times whatever number amount we do. That would give them the full bill. It'll
We
be
have to
pretty
give that
close
to
to
the
it.
lawyer as soon
Yeah,
as
yeah,
possible.
yes, I understand that. I just,
Somebody said, let the DRB figure out how many violations, we could ask that tonight, or the zoning administrator.
Does anyone have the communication that we just received from the lawyer? I can't find it.
yeah,
Send it to
Kristen
Carol.
sent it to us with the, in the same email as the agenda to this meeting. And then, I don't know if there's a paper copy of it in the yellow folder.
There's not, can I read?
Yeah, it's right here, but it was in this, it was an attachment in the email Kristen sent to us with the agenda to today's meeting.
Sergeant.
Yep,
review.
Sergeant, yeah, that's the last name of the woman who owned the property.
Yeah,
And
Because
your
neither
name,
sibling
please.
attended. That
Well,
final
all I
status.
see, all I see in this is the finding of fact and conclusion of law from the Development Review Board. What I was looking for was the
It's from the
the-
lawyer.
the message from the lawyer that
I
came
sent
to
it
us,
to Carl.
who was asking for two different options, like
Right.
if there was a settlement, there were a couple of
Right.
different things.
right,
And I had asked that perhaps we go into executive session to discuss what that action would be, and folks
Right.
replied, we should hear from the public first before we do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
We have
But-
some,
the lawyer,
we have
if
some.
I
that's
recall,
trying
if
to
I
get in
recall the lawyer's message, he was not asking for
There
a
they
number.
go.
Yeah.
All right, Sean and Michael.
We had to add a waiting
Okay.
room because of getting torn last time we were in the meeting, so
Right.
that's scared to the meeting.
Does anyone have that message?
Carl,
well, I thought I had it, but I was looking for it, it came from Chris, it came from, well, it came from Kim, but.
Yeah.
But I had, Kristen forwarded to everybody, But you haven't
All
seen
I-
it.
all I saw was the sergeant thing, but I did see it at some point, because I know I bumped into Patty, and that's when she was asking about the executive session.
Well, what's your email address? Just,
Select board. seven.
is there.
all right, I'll find it a little bit later and send it to you. I can't put my hands on it right now, because, yeah,
I know I saw it and got it, but I don't
Yeah.
know where, what it was attached to.
oh, right here.
This is Brown Town Clerk. I think probably just in terms of getting things rolling, then tomorrow, somebody from the select board should speak directly to the lawyer and say, we need a letter by Friday. No ifs, ands, or buts. We need it by Friday. Come up with something. That would be my,
Select board
Because-
7.1. I have it.
Plainfield.et.org or gov, right?
Select
Okay.
board 7
Gov.
Plainfield, BT,
.gov.
Plainfield, BT. Dot. All right. I've sent it to you. I hope you got it. It says the third and final status meeting on Devin Lynch.
Because what
It's
the
not-
the gist of it, I think, was he was asking us, should he tell the judge that we wanted to go to trial?
Right, this is what he said. I told the court we want to go to a trial as briefing made less sense given the lack of attorney presentation on Devin's side. and the issue is straightforward regarding use of the RV for more than 6 months in violation of the town's ordinance. The court agreed, but Devin expressed a desire to work something out. He also mentioned a willingness to pay fines. I said, we talked to you before, but it seemed improbable we'd reach an agreement based on those conversations. I also said his willingness to pay the fines may change when he understands it's a per day fine and we're many days in. The court said we have 2 weeks to work something out or file our trial schedule proposal.
Right, that's the one, that's the
Yes.
one.
That's the one we
That's
saw,
what I just
yeah.
said.
Well, we need a number, I guess. That's what has to happen, and we're not gonna get it in 10 minutes.
I mean,
Well, do you agree to $100 a day?
Well, that is the,
Okay,
what we
All right.
have, so we have to know how many days exactly.
okay, so from February 2nd, 2021. Down forward, I mean, I'm just guessing roughly 3 years.
But there was intermittent time there.
Trend is still there.
I just want to be fair about this.
Yes,
You know, if he leaves, then he has to be gone 6 months.
but they're never gone. They go
Okay.
away for the morning and they come back in the afternoon, same as
Okay.
what the mother did.
Okay,
She was never gone for 6 months. She might have
Okay.
been gone for 6 hours. And the
Okay.
RV always stayed on the property. Never moved.
so I've heard two numbers, 970 days and 195 days, 1,095.
It's 1,009.
If you did 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But roughly, you're still talking almost $100,000.
I mean, it just feels loosey-goosey if we go to a court and say, well, this is how the fine was developed.
Well, I think that the development of the fine this evening would be saying that we would want to do a dollar amount from February 2nd until today.
$438,000.
And then we would, and the other thing is looking at, I did just find, the lawyers, some of it. I think there is while there are multiple infractions, I think there's a $200 a day maximum. So if they have 6 infractions, it's still $200 a day maximum for total.
So
I don't
that'd
think we
be
can
in
do 4.
half.
that would be divided by 2.
Yeah,
So,
I
Yeah.
had 1,382 days from February 2nd, 2021 until this Friday.
say it again, 1,000,
1,382 days.
okay, and 200 is the,
From
and,
February 2nd, 2021 through this Friday, November 15th.
200 is the maximum per
yeah,
day?
I think, yeah. So can I ask you a question of the residents? You may have different opinions. The resolution that you want is not, I'm guessing, for him to pay $138,000. It's for him to move the RV and to go through the regular permanent process.
No,
For a house, right? Yeah, well, if he has to, would have to design a house that,
no. One gone.
well, you can't, I mean, that's not legal.
He doesn't own the property.
Well, okay, so like I said, regular permitting process, which would mean he'd have to be the legal resident. He'd have to ask for a
That's what I'm
permit, and the
getting.
permit would have to be valid
Based
for the
on
building, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to go through all of those things.
This is Adam Ocean. I can speak for myself. I want him and all residents of Plainfield to comply with the zoning rules.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, not, anybody
Yeah,
anything here or there, but just complying with the zoning rules.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with 1,382 days. You said $200 a day is $276,000, 400. I mean, is that a number we can use? It would be supported by our policy.
Be
Yeah,
aggressive, don't mess
yeah.
around.
And that's the number we should get to the attorney.
Yes,
And are we post dating until Friday? Are we post dating the calculation for Friday, or is it today? 1,380 days today.
he's quoted it to Friday.
Through this Friday.
this
Through Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I said Friday because that's when we're thinking of sending them.
And we're gonna send the letter certified, correct?
That has to be.
Okay,
Okay,
And I think the letter should say that daily count continues.
Yeah, yeah,
and so grand total there is 276,400.
yeah. Yeah. It's important to get this in the hands of the defendant before the court date, because the judge is going to ask, have you received a bill? And we want him to say yes, and for how much.
thank you.
well, we still have to do the motion.
Oh,
And
Well,
just one last thing, if Mr. Lynch has a problem with the calculation, he's welcome to respond to that.
What was it, 13?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
If Mr. Lynch has
1,382.
takes issue with the calculations, he's welcome to respond.
Ah, yes, right, right. He can come back and claim that there was some change, but. And that, as you pointed out, Kim, is not the actual amount that he technically should owe, but we have a cap of $200,
Okay.
so
instead of the
it's
4
actually a lot less than it could have
Yeah.
been. I'm happy to contact the attorney tomorrow and
So then I have one other question.
Well,
So if he
we-
doesn't pay the fees,
Do you give them the?
We have to, we gotta make a motion, right?
yeah, we need a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Should we do the motion and then, all right. I move that we send a letter through our attorney to Melanie Sargent. What would they be? Estates.
Yeah, it's a state.
or to
For,
Devin Lynch,
for fines in the amount of $276,400 for being in violation of zoning laws for 1,382 days.
do you have to give him a date in which it's has?
We need a second. Hold it, please.
Second,
Okay, we have a second. For discussion?
Yes.
I would suggest clarifying the motion that it would go both to the Melanie Sargent estate and to Devin Lynch. There's no harm in sending it to both.
Thank you. We can ask for that. We have a motion and second. Oh, did you have a question?
Well, I have discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah, I don't question the number here, but all we're doing is saying, here's a fine. We're not saying,
That's
get
my
out.
next question.
That
which is why I don't think we're addressing the question that the lawyer asked us in his memo.
Which
Well,
is
he's
move
addressing that
move the
first, yeah.
trailer or just leave.
Well, yeah, how we dispose of the case, I think, is, I think that's part of what the lawyer is saying, is that we wanna put a number out there as a
Yeah.
part of negotiation to them.
But then if he doesn't pay, what does the town then do?
He won't pay, of course.
No,
So then the town now has more legal force to make him leave, pick up his trailer and go somewhere else, just leave. I mean, I'm not sure what the next step is, but we have to.
It did not come through. Can I see that message again, please?
Are we through
I'm
the
not-
discussion?
I'm not sure we're doing what we need to do.
Okay.
I'm not sure we're doing all we need to do as well.
Yep, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
I'll be there.
Yeah. I have a question. If he
Yeah.
doesn't, if he doesn't pay these fines, if he moves the stuff off, if he moves his trailer, is he off the hook for these fines?
Well,
We'd have to.
we could
Is
still
this-
chase him for them, but the reality is we want them gone.
So I think that that would be a good motivator.
You get it?
Well, that's the point.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly right.
all right.
Yeah,
As I read this, okay, he told the court, we want to go to trial. And he thinks that the issue's pretty open and shut,
mhm,
right? He's clearly in violation of the ordinance. But he wants to work something out, mentioned a willingness to pay the fines. He didn't see the number, he's not gonna be willing to pay that. Okay. The court says we have 2 weeks to work something out or file our trial schedule proposal. So just to play that through, he's not gonna pay a fine.
right,
So it's gonna go to trial,
right.
Right, which was a 1-day trial.
and that's
which they
okay?
already were going to do.
Is that what we want?
I think that's what we want.
Yes,
Okay.
I don't think you have a choice.
We don't have a choice. He's not gonna,
The thing.
yeah,
They
he's
had
not
a
gonna pay it.
3-part status meeting. This last one, neither one of the siblings, the sister or the other brother showed. And so he can't be given,
Right.
ownership of the property.
But he needs to have a bill from the town.
Exactly.
And so that's what we wanna, we have a motion and a second. We need a vote on whether to have me contact the lawyer tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. And can you send us a copy of that letter? Or, some have the lawyer.
We'll have, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure how the lawyer will feel.
Yeah,
It's a certified letter, but we will let you know what
Okay.
what happens.
All right, sorry, we have the variance meeting on.
I'm,
Yeah.
I understand, thank you.
We've
Thank-
got the fingers crossed that's being denied.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your.
watch your step out there.
Thank you.
So we have
You have the number to reach out to the lawyer?
276-400,
Uh-huh.
Melanie Sargent Estate and Devin Lynch,
Yeah, so
Going to
the
both?
motion was expanded to go to both Devon.
right,
And the Sergeant Estate.
right, and that's what the direction I have.
Great.
So, and one more comment?
Our whole legal system is designed not to go to trial.
Mm-hmm,
So we're gonna give this huge number. They're not gonna be able to pay.
mm-hmm,
So before it goes to trial, there's gonna be a negotiation,
right,
That would be great,
okay?
yeah.
I mean, that's what.
and the
is likely to
negotiation
happen.
maybe take your trailer off the property. To Devon,
Yeah,
that may be the negotiation.
well, I wish. We don't have a lawyer here, and so there's no point to go into
Yeah.
executive session.
We have a motion and second. Do we want to have a vote? Discussions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. I will talk to the lawyer tomorrow.
Who seconded that? Is that Patty or?
I
think both did.
Yes, I did.
One of them, Rose?
I think I did.
I think
yes.
Rose did, yeah.
Yes, I did.
It's been so long. All right, let's move on to what we jumped over, the road commissioner's report. Can we have a update? Anything exciting going on?
I think I covered this in a little bit of the discussion and the treasurer's report, but we've now distinctly assigned locations, mile markers to each of the sections on Brook Road. And I'll remind you that Brook Road is a FHWA rural connector. It gets funded differently than people public assistance, and so that goes directly through the Municipal Assistance Bureau. And so each of those locations has been assigned. And we're going to work to determine which of those locations is essentially completed in terms of its emergency corrective action. And then we should be submitting those the damaged inventory reports to Ross Gallen at the Municipal Assistance Bureau to get the money back that we spent. It is 100% funded. And so certain sections that are delineated, the one that we probably will get the money back first would be summary number 3, which would be the location between Cameron Road and Creamery Street. So that should come back first. It's great. The as far as the work relevant to near Christie Farnham, we are working to try to make sure we have good turnarounds at the bottom of Fowler Road so that the maintenance on that road can be done adequately and efficiently. And our next big thing to look at, there have been a few things that have come in via our new form. And so some of the information we've received via the form, for example, would be people raised issues with Brook Road that called out different culverts. So it has been a great asset to have that other avenue of communication. Let's see. And I spent a good deal of time on Fowler Road on Saturday, speaking with Darren Kobe and Chris Griggs about some necessary maintenance in that location that they had concerns about, and So I directed that to the road foreman. And that's about where we're at with, the general lay of the roads.
I have a question. Some of the work we've been doing under the emergency work, for the most part, it's really just general repair, right? It's not requiring full engineering solutions. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. And I have reached out to, an engineering firm, Boys and King, kind of outside the process. This isn't part of the FHWA funding or FEMA public assistance, but to get a quote on sort of a after, kind of as a consultant fee, what their hourly rate would be and things like that. They haven't gotten back to me and I haven't had an opportunity to review that, but this would be kind of a little bit of a pre scoping, if you will, like kind of just give us a lay of the land kind of point in time where we're at, examination of what's been done so far, but not in the not to the level that would be required and not like the degree to which you would expect as a true scoping site.
And if it's gonna be constructed, it would have to have more of an engineering.
Indeed, it would have to follow, and because of the fact that it's federally funded, there's very like long process that we have to go through to qualify for that funding for the post-emergency phase, the permanent phase. Some of the locations won't have a permanent phase, and at least in regard to the Brook Road and other areas.
Well, I think one of the things we've been asking for or trying to find is funding to get engineering done so we can get this scoping done, so we can get a sense of what the costs really are gonna be if we were to open Brook Road.
Right,
And that's been a real
and that's
issue.
been, the what we may get from them in this sort of, in basically a memorandum would be a inaccurate number,
Yeah,
but a better
something.
inaccurate number.
Yeah. Well, we also have our consultants coming in next week,
Yeah, that
as you
is-
know, to do
That's
some,
specific to FEMA public assistance.
yes.
The integrity group is coming and they're reviewing the damaged inventory list. That includes all of the damage, including Brook Road, but the funding for Brook Road, because of its federal connector status, won't go through FEMA public assistance. It is on their inventory at the moment, and that's because it is better to leave it on until you absolutely don't have it
Right.
on there. And so that may provide us with some better numbers without having to spend out of pocket. So that's been why, we pause on like spending our direct spend for working with Boys and King. Wait and see what the integrity group, who is our consultant for FEMA public assistance, will deliver. They may deliver something that is sufficient to our needs, to your desire to have like a closer number. So, that
Yep.
the constant reshuffling of the order of operations here continues.
Well, I know there's folks who are very interested in knowing what we're gonna do with Brook Road, so we all wanna know, but I think we need information before we can make a decision.
I'm gonna say, in my personal opinion, looking at the road. The infrastructure that we have in the town. The form of that infrastructure should follow its function. Currently, up until recent events, a big function of what Brook Road was for the people using it was to connect from population centers in Orange to be a pass-through travel to the Route 2 corridor. And as, you know, as we would think of it under federal highway. And having the reduction of population along Brook Road and buyouts may actually help us to like think of that as an avenue where you can move a lot of people through very quickly between 302 and Route 2 without having very much population in that location. The under the Federal Highway Works Administration, we are permitted to move the road out of hazard. And but the way that funding comes through is that each of these sections that have been delineated functions as its own project, and there are reasons of like good governance for that. But you know, there has been an interest in removing the Bridge 21 in the village. You know, if we are looking to maintain that corridor, which many people are desiring of, you know, we would have, it's going to be a long process to relocate that road to, in many places, to higher ground. But I think that making that artery function for the town includes like leaving in a crossing at crossing the Great Brook between Creamery and Mill Street to avoid the arterial traffic that is commuter traffic that's coming through that corridor and keeping it away from Creamery Street, Main Street, you know, especially in consideration of the intention to create a walkable village, expand the village relocation project that is looking to create 30 parcels above Main Street Extension and the Creamery Street area is going to drive a lot of foot traffic in that location. And I think the last thing we may want to do is create a possible artery of traffic that is coming down off of East Hill or coming around the corner from Brook Road to Creamery into that, into those locations and funneling all the traffic through our Main Street.
I think you're giving a really good example of why we have to take time to study this. Because there's so many pieces of it. I don't think we need to do it tonight, but you bring up some really good points. I'm hoping we start getting some feedback soon from engineering folks.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot to cover after we speak with the integrity group next week.
Yeah,
Tuesday,
yeah,
Wednesday.
yeah, hopefully they'll have some guidance. Yes.
On,
I have a question. This is Christy
reviewing-
Bonham.
I was just reviewing the thread that Mike Zonner replying to George Springston, and there was a whole thread, I think you were on it. And he was talking about that the town has applied for the grant through FEMA hazard mitigation, not public assistance, but
Right.
hazard mitigation that would do this scoping study. Do you know the time frame on that?
That is we're still in the dark on how that is gonna come down to us, or if it will. I believe that hazard mitigation is competitive grant.
Yeah, he cited some numbers that communities so far are asking for 400 million and there's only 90 million available.
Correct,
So we may or may not get that.
yeah. Well, you know, so we stay the course and, you know, we understand what is available from FHWA. And, you know, there is no reason to divert ourselves from that process until, you know, we're awarded more funds through this other avenue.
Right, right. No, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
Ms. Christy Farnham with a question.
Oh, Christie, yes, go ahead, Christie.
Thanks so much. One question that is, was raised in one of the recent public forums is the deadline for this to be completed. I know that the clock is already ticking and for some reason, April of 25 sticks in my mind. Are we exploring the opportunity to request an extension for, to allow for these scoping and feasibility considerations, or are we truly on the clock and we need to be taking action now?
That is the deadline, April 5th, is the deadline for emergency operations. And, the emergency operations are permitted to be undertaken without engineering. There were locations that are specifically a couple of locations and a bridge that are hindering your access to Brook Road through to the village that are going to require engineering. And so that's been a bit of that's been our hiccup. Just because the emergency phase can't go through does not mean that we will cease to pursue work in that area. That time frame is specific only to what is 100% funded. Federal Highway Works Administration is it's well funded, and the match for us would be a 10% match and then there are other opportunities for funding from other federal and state agencies to cover some of that match. Those locations that require engineering, they are going to be a priority for us to pursue. The first project we are addressing is the Mill Street Bridge. And then I don't have my list in front of me, but the next place we're going to be looking at is that large washout below Fowler.
Christie, this is Carl. I think the 100% funding that Josh just mentioned is why we're pushing hard to work on Brook Road to make it safer and more accessible as possible. If we have bridges out, then we don't have time to do that unless we got temporary bridging, I guess. But we're trying to get as much done with 100% financing as we can.
Right.
Even though we still don't know for sure how and if Brook Road is going to be repaired.
And the timeline, the April 5th, there's no extension to be asked for.
There's no
It's
extension.
It's a hard deadline.
It's a hard
That's just
deadline.
how the program works.
Yes.
It previously.
So just like we were able to react and get temporary bridges in the village, I'm just saying, if this opportunity is fleeting, can we look to put temporary bridges in what are two obvious areas on Brook Road where, the bridges are impassable? Before that opportunity is lost. I sit with federal funders. I understand how this all works. And I just don't want to lose the opportunity, because I know that as a tax base, we can't afford the Taj Mahal of repairs on our own backs.
Right, we are doing work in that location in anticipation of being able to get a temporary bridge in that location. So the first step coming up from the village is a bridge that is damaged. It's built in 1991. It is unsafe for the trucks to cross. And so we would need a temporary bridge at that location. And that is something that is on our agenda to do as soon as we can. And there's several reasons. One is to try to be able to essentially bushwhack a way around that huge gorge, but also, you know, there's hazards. There is a home that is in imminent danger of falling into the brook. Getting that removed would be essential to reduce hazard and extensive costs to the town. So we are working at that location to not only to remove that home, but also to essentially attempt to find a way around that could be available for emergency vehicles.
Thank you for all these details, Josh. It's really helpful to hear the status of all these things.
Bridge request on my top of my stack tomorrow.
And I think you said this earlier, Josh, but Christie or anyone else who has questions about specifically what emergency work's being done or not, should just give you a email at
treasurer@plainfieldvt.gov. You're also on the town's website. You can also submit any questions or concerns via the form. Or I believe my phone is posted in many places in the town in various capacities. I'm 100% available.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Appreciate it, very thorough. Okay, I guess we'll move to this item was suggested that we get a vice chair for the select board, so that when the chair is taking a vacation.
no vacation.
No. Anyone have a burning interest to do this? I actually have another reason for wanting to have somebody I can talk to about the agenda, so I could have somebody to bounce off what agenda items we're going to be considering. I'd like to have somebody else to talk to about that. So that's the other reason. Obviously step in if I'm not here, but that's important too, I think. Any burning desires?
I would be vice chair with you.
You would?
I would be
Okay.
vice chair with you.
I was gonna say, we don't nominate Francis Rules for that.
We have a volunteer. No volunteers from this end of the table.
Francis Rules.
Well, that'd be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know if we need to
Thank you for doing it.
act on this.
Is there a motion required here? Is there?
I'm not sure if there is. I think it's really just a understanding amongst the board. It's not an official title. It's just.
We moved to make it a position last time, right?
Yeah, we did.
So we should probably just move.
Then we should do it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for remembering that.
Patty, did I hear you make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we
Francis-
nominate Francis Rose for the title of the select board vice chair.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, seconded.
Oh, you second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you
You're welcome.
and welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here, take my good work and.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of warrants. We have, we need
Before we get to the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we get to the warrants, last meeting, we had spoken of committee selection. Perhaps the time, I noticed it wasn't on the agenda,
I need somebody to review the agenda.
so that's like are we pushing that off then?
No, we don't have to. We have some time. We could at least figure out what the next step is for that, if you'd like to do that.
I think we know of the need for any committees. And to the degree that is possible to step on to these committees tonight would be, I see how that would move forward the committee responsibilities that I think have been kind of waiting for the committees to form.
Mhm.
And I wonder, for some of these things rather than committees, which
We're not
If-
supposed to call them.
We're not supposed to call them that.
if
Excuse
we
me.
actually create committees, then they
Excuse
become
me.
public entities. But if we wanted to have
Working groups.
liaisons,
Working
Don't get
groups.
together.
if we wanted to have
Yeah.
liaisons, I don't think you can create any kind of
Right.
subgroups. That, yeah, but if we wanted to have liaisons to certain town issues, so that way a certain select board member got deeper in those issues.
Yeah.
Or sometimes two, if that makes sense, without it being a separate committee. So
You-
for example, I know Jim Balls used to be on the Development Review Board. That's an area that I'm actually very interested in with the housing and other things that are coming along. Is development review and zoning, but, so maybe, and they don't have to be official, I don't think these have to be motions of the board, but if we. Found out the interests of all the select board members, maybe we could dig deeper into those interests, so that way we can bring more information to the select board.
I think it would be really useful for the board in general to have, any one of the individuals who has an interest in something and are a little more up on it than the rest of us might be, to be able to report back and talk about it.
I'm interested in the health insurance stuff, the
Oh, okay.
personnel policy issues.
And I kind of, because I was road commissioner, I'm kind of interested in road issues, general. I don't know,
I feel here for futures visioning, development. What are the next steps for rebuilding Plainfield or not?
you know, we had a discussion a few meetings ago from folks who wanted to help us develop a plan, a town plan.
The VCRD?
Yeah, and we didn't really take it anywhere because we weren't sure. I think we felt we were kind of ahead of where they were offering to be, helping us, but I think they could be helpful but that would direct us to where do we want Plainfield to be in 10 years? Right? I mean, that kind of vision is what they were promoting. And I think it's really a worthwhile thing to think about. I don't know what one person can do about that on the board.
I think that group is waiting for the select board
For an
to,
invite, yeah.
to an official motion
Mhm.
passed to invite them to hold that space for this town. So this was on my list of things to vice chair review about, represencing on the agenda.
I'm all in favor of getting a discussion started about planning ahead for the future. You know, I'm all for that if we wanted to invite them, but.
And then Patty, you had mentioned in email that you were interested in being a liaison to the Hazard Mitigation Committee.
Yeah, I've sent a couple of emails. I'm kind of getting some pushback. So
Oh,
I'm gonna try to maybe make a meeting.
yeah, you
Then-
should
Yeah.
get to some
I've-
meetings.
I've had a couple of emails to the person and getting some weird kind of stuff, like some weird stuff back. So I'm gonna be with him for a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah, well,
Talk to him more about it.
they're in open meetings, so,
Yeah, I just want to support, I want to support him and be, but he's, yeah.
well, I think it's great. I mean, you're right here
Yeah.
and,
I mean, in terms of the, long-term, economic development and stuff, I have particular interest in the second egress
Hmm.
as part of that picture. And Carl and I
Mhm.
met and had tea the other day, and both of us
Yeah.
have been out walking around looking at different sites and stuff like that, and it did prompt my question when the VCDR people were here about, do they work outside town boundaries? And their short answer was, well, usually we work within a town boundary. But in this case, some of our options are outside the town boundary or cross town boundaries. And some are within the town boundary, and so, but, to the extent that that interfaces with your interest there, I would be happy to share what I got so far and what I didn't get.
yeah. And it's an important, but it's an issue, but it's long-term. We think it's long-term. It may not be long-term.
Yeah.
But we know that there's a construction project coming up, so the bridge issue is an important one.
And then represencing an intention made last time by the select board, which was to for these liaisons to have co-liaisons.
Mhm.
So that, grow the resiliency of not just having one person be representing, but
Right,
two.
right, two, yes.
Staying
right.
below the threshold of quorum, but
Mhm.
with, yeah, more than one for accountability.
It feels like, yeah, that's like the ideal, and we should do that where there is mutual interest in multiple things, but I wouldn't want to create undue work for us as select board members to say that there has to be two people for every category that we may find.
And it's,
Just because we're only 5 people.
and it sounds like this is also unofficial, so no motions need to
Yeah.
be
Right,
passed on this subject.
right.
Yeah.
I think that's correct. Any other, any other discussion on that?
I'll keep trying.
Keep trying, yeah.
Yeah.
If I can help, let me know.
Thank you.
We have approval of warrants, the accounts payable 11/3/24. I think we all signed that.
Want me to make the motions?
You want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve accounts payable for November 3rd, 2024. And payroll for October 31st, 2024 and November 7th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Rose seconded. An approval of the 10/28/24 draft minutes.
I read them, they looked good, I move we approve them.
Okay,
I second that.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, and
On that point, I know we lost our YouTube
yes,
account, and so all the videos of past meetings, select board and otherwise, are no longer available to anybody.
is that true?
They still exist and they will be available again soon.
Yes, that's what I understood,
Yeah,
Tristan.
and we only have to keep videos up for 30 days, so the only ones that are actually, we're out of compliance on are the ones that are in the last 30
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, but we're out of compliance on minutes and have been for a long time, and I'm just wondering where is the progress happening on that?
Well, we approved 3 different minutes last time.
Right,
To
but
get us-
if you go back, like, there's like almost nothing from July, August and September. It hasn't been I thought Kristen and Erica DaCosta were working on that, but we haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either.
And I got this fire lit under me because I took the League of Cities and Towns training on Board of Abatement today. And of course, there's some new open meeting law stuff that the legislature just passed, so we got an update on that.
Oh, good.
Posting requirements, videos. It's interesting. I asked about minutes for like the Board of Abatement. We meet so irregularly,
Yeah,
right? It's like, so when do you adopt the minutes? And the lawyer said, well, there is no requirement that minutes actually be adopted. That you can post draft minutes, and that's usually what's done until, they're revised. Now, we formally adopt ours, and then
right.
the adopted ones replace the draft ones on the website. But we're behind, and I know that was an issue for a number of folks in town. And I just hope we can get that.
I know Kristen's working on it. I know that it's a tedious task because in some cases, they have to watch
The whole video.
the whole video and stop the video and take a note and start the, so anyway, I know they're working on it. They're aware that we would like to get those.
It's just a note. It's not the whole shebang. It's like looking at the minutes and then writing down the answers of the kind of little bullets of it, right?
Well, that's the minimum.
Yeah,
Everybody has a style. Some people like to get very wordy. Some people would like to just synopsize what happened.
Right, but there is a statutory minimum that is required.
Right.
okay.
Right. And that's what we have been negligent in putting out, and all I can say is I know that Kristen's working on it.
Yeah.
She's also working on AI minutes to try that. There's a I'm not sure.
I'm supporting Kristen. I'm one of, I'm
Oh,
one,
you-
of-
okay.
I'm one of the people supporting Kristen, trying to get AI to take the notes for her.
Yeah,
And I have yet to like crack that mystery. but
it's a
I'm-
tricky
I'm still
one.
working on it.
Yeah, yeah. And
You're
it's
doing
a
that.
tricky one because it gives every single word and then you have to go through and decide, well,
But at least I can give you a rough draft.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then all of a
And
sudden,
somebody who really wants every single word can have it because it's there. Yeah,
Well, that's what the video.
that's what the videos do, exactly.
It seems like we're currently on the website missing 12 meetings between June and
Mhm.
now. I mean, part of the issue is just under capacity and all of our staff roles, and Kristen has to do a lot of the election stuff, which just happened last week and those kind of things, so. I don't know that we're giving our city staff or our town staff work plans that are realistic for the number of hours that they work.
Right. So we have any other thoughts on the draft, on the minutes in general? We approve these.
I have one thing to say in general.
Yes,
I just wanted to congratulate Peter Youngbear on his new position of Justice of the Peace, is that correct?
Again,
Again, yeah, thank you, congratulations
Still?
on that.
yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Congratulations.
well, thank you for just stepping up for that. I'm looking at the calendar and thinking about the date of our next meeting, which looks like the 25th of November.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is on the 28th,
Okay.
so it's a Monday night.
I can come, yeah, I can do that.
So if that seems reasonable, that would be our
Already
normal
on my
meeting.
calendar.
And I'll make sure Kristen knows about that.
What's that?
You didn't even-
I make a motion that we adjourn at
I
7:33 p.m.
second that motion. Here, this is for you.
Is that the second?
I didn't
All
hear a
those in-
second. I didn't hear
yes.
a second.
Okay,
Did you
John,
second that
I
motion?
second that motion.
You second that motion?
Does that mean that there will be no special budget hearings before that?
No, that doesn't mean that. We'll have to call a special meeting for the budget. If we would like to do that.
There's no onion.
Do we want to do that now before we vote on the adjournment? Do we want to have, is there times when people
What?
have,
I mean, I think we got to schedule with Josh. It's probably a better task for maybe you and the vice chair to just talk with Josh and come up
Yeah,
with a
okay.
schedule.
all right.
This is for the
Yeah.
budget meetings?
Yeah,
Is there times when people have extended times when they can't do it? I mean, December for me
We
is
have a-
actually pretty
we
open.
just,
What's that?
it's fine.
Being a wise guy. Okay. Let's work on that. You and I can work on that and try to get a date set
Yeah, partners.
for the first meeting. Okay, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
And as always, thank Keith,
Always.
our techie.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. Thank you, Keith.
Oh, Josh, do you have any idea, did somebody actually give you that laptop that was supposed to be using the select board?
You need it?
Yeah. It's 10 or 15.
There's an Asus that's supposed to be.
Like 10 people.
Yeah.
Tim is good.
You can do it, okay. I don't know how to do it. It was just like, they gave us a laptop
They like
and
those
a package of
containers.
RAM, they were like, here you go, because I tried
If you were
to
putting
use it without it, and
or
it's not happening.
No.
So,
we're not happy.
but it's like,
If you have one,
I'm
like
like,
you want to.
I don't think you can just add someone,
You know,
it'd be like, here it is for the, like, when it was the day of the meeting, we were supposed to use it. I'm like,
Yeah,
no idea.
you know, we could, at Computer Barn, we can buy a $400 used reconditioned.
Well, we already have the RAM and everything, we just.
That would be dedicated.
Sylvia?
Treasurer.
Yeah.
So you and.
I'm just gonna end this
Treasurer with your